I am Herman Coornhert, living in Dordrecht, Netherlands in 1558. I hate my job. I'm even ashamed to tell people what it is. You see, I'm the town executioner. I'm tasked with meting out whatever punishment the local courts decide. But I only get paid when I actually execute anyone. The magistrates of Dordrecht are not a bloodthirsty lot, so there's not much call for my services. In that way, I'm glad to live as a poor man. I heard that the executioner down in Antwerp lives like a royal, but I wonder how he can sleep at night. It's nasty work. It's worse than mucking out the sewers. Every time I have to behead someone, it gives me nightmares. I have to drown my sorrows in the tavern. Last winter, I'm sure we would have starved if it hadn't been for my kind neighbors, the Joris Wippe family. Why, Joris is only a humble dyer of cloth. And he had 7 children of his own to feed, but Joris and his good wife always had something to share with us. He'd stop by my house with a gift of food, explaining, I did a whole vat of purple drapes last week. I can manage, and your family needs it more than I do. And it wasn't only us. Almost every person in his part of town enjoyed a loaf of fresh baked bread and a pot of stew or gruel from Mrs. Wippe's savory kitchen. For 3 months, I didn't see my kind neighbor. Then I heard that Joris had been arrested for some religious offense, and he was sent to The Hague for his trial. Their family had lost its primary wage earner, and I'd even caught a glimpse of his 2 youngest sons down at the docks, hauling crates and barrels to provide for the family. One day, I stopped by the jail to deliver food and water and new straw for the inmates in their cells, even though I don't get paid for that. The jailer yelled at me. He said, "Hey, get yourself up to the bailiff. He's got a real job for you." Now, I didn't feel like killing anyone, and I didn't even feel up for a whipping. But I followed orders, and I rapped at the door of Bailiff von Blyenberg. He handed me an official-looking document. He said, "The court has finally decided to execute this man. It took us till last night to come up with this decision. Do it quietly, down in the prison. The judges don't want a public execution. They want the body to be displayed for all to see, though. We've got to put a stop to these Anabaptist heretics." He handed me the document, and as I started to read, the words seemed to blur. Whereas Joris Wippe has dared to have himself rebaptized and has held pernicious views concerning baptism according to the testimony of his own confession. He shall be drowned in a cask and then hanged on a gallows, and his property confiscated and placed in the city's treasury. Joris Wippe, I can't execute him. He's my neighbor, a good man. He's never done anyone any wrong. It's the law of the land, the bailiff shrugged coldly. You haven't been influenced by those Anabaptists, have you? I quickly assured him that I wasn't religious, but I still wondered why the execution was being done so secretly. And the bailiff explained that because Joris was so well known in the city, the judges didn't want to attract any more to his public witness. In fact, they'd even taken away his ink, not wanting his writings to stir up new Anabaptist sympathizers. I made my rounds in the jail, and suddenly I came face to face with Joris. He greeted me warmly, and I inquired about his family. But he had an unusual request for me. Could I get him some ink? I told him I'd gladly do anything for my friend, but ink was forbidden. And he looked thoughtfully. Then he said, "Well, I'm not a dyer of cloth for nothing. Mulberries should be ripe by now. Give me a small basket of mulberries." I sneaked the basket of mulberries into the prison on my next visit, then decided to appeal to the judge. There was no way I could execute my kind neighbor. I'd rather lose my job. I told the judge how Joris had fed my family and many other poor people. The judge was sympathetic. He'd hoped Joris would flee the city, but because of the imperial decree against all Anabaptists, the local authorities were duty-bound to execute him. Then I had an idea. I was the only one who could legally do an execution. As long as I didn't comply with the order, he wouldn't be killed. Soon, Joris slipped me a letter, penned in mulberry juice ink, and he asked me to deliver it to his family. Mrs. Vippa was very eager for the news from her husband, and since she couldn't read and her older sons weren't home, she asked me to read the precious letter. My dearly beloved and obedient children, I wish you an honorable, virtuous, and godly life in the Lord. You are well aware now that I am in bonds for the testimony of Christ our Savior, and I wait patiently for the time when it pleases him for me to offer up my body in sacrifice to his holy name. Please honor your poor bereaved mother who is deprived of everything for the name of the Lord. Now it is God's will that we part. I admonish you to obey God's commands all your life, and we will meet again in the hereafter. I urge you to share your bread and money with the poor, and I commend the Bible as your guide. You older boys are able to read, so read it often and obey it. Protect and provide for your mother for the rest of her life. Spend time in prayer that God will keep you from evil. Have no fellowship with the evil of this world, and don't be afraid, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. He will be your protector. Always speak the truth. Herewith I take my leave of you forever, my dear children, until we meet again at the resurrection. Your loving father, Joris Vippa. Joris's days in prison stretched into 7 weeks, and I began to think that it might be a miracle that he might make it out, that my stand to not execute Joris would lead to his release. And one day, I found his cell empty. Had he been released? I hurried to fetch fresh water for the other prisoners from the huge old wine vat that served as a cistern for the jail. Later that afternoon, I was scheduled to whip 3 thieves who'd recently been caught. And as I was dipped my bucket into the cistern, it caught on something. I reached in my hand and I felt cloth and hair and a body. I pulled the body over the rim of the vat and I let it crash to the floor. It was the corpse of my friend Joris Vippa, and his hands were tied behind his back. The jailer heard the noise, and he came in with a mocking sneer. "Hey, what's the matter? Has our brave executioner got weak knees today?" There was nothing I could do. The jailer had acted alone and illegally. I had been outmaneuvered, and my friend was dead. The jailer ordered me to get the body out of the jail and hang it on the gallows for public display. With tears in my eyes, I thought of one last thing I could do for my friend. I wrapped his poor, shriveled body in an expensive-looking purple drape before hanging him up by his feet. A large crowd gathered in the square to watch me whip those 3 thieves, and I would banish them from the city. After whipping those thieves, who were tied to the whipping post, I yanked the purple shroud from Joris Vippa's body, and I revealed who it was. Then, quickly, I stepped over, and I cut the bonds of the 3 thieves. that held them to the whipping post. Then I cried to all the people in the square, "They have crucified Christ and released Barabbas."